All right, here we are again for another episode of Straight to the Heart with Eric Earhart. And look who's back in studio with us, the lovely Miss Shari Earhart. And that, you know what that means? It is time for another round of What's Up With That. All right, what you got for us today?
So the government shutdown.
The government shutdown.
What's up with that?
What's up with that? Yeah, it was kind of crazy, wasn't it? And we have a daughter who's married to an active duty Marine, which was affecting him and them. We have a son who's a National Guard reservist. It was affecting him. So it affected a lot of people. It's kind of crazy. Politics
He was kind of glad.
yeah,
Our son was kind of glad.
Yeah, he's a full-time college student. So he was kind of glad he didn't have to do his weekend drill for 2 months. They called off October and November. Anyway, so yeah. Well, in short, it's just crass politics as always, right? But the root of it is this, I think, this time. But it seems to happen every time. Every year in October. October 1 is the new budget year for our nation. That's when the budget year starts. September 30th, everything ends, right? So this time, it seemed to be centered around the Democrats holding out for $400 billion in subsidies to the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, right? As I understood it, I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but you couldn't miss it if you're a news junkie like we are, right? And it was affecting our families and friends. So it seemed to be centered around this. In 2021, under COVID emergency measures, an emergency budgetary action was put in place by the Biden administration to provide subsidies to help people pay their monthly insurance, health insurance, during COVID. Well, that was set to expire in 2025. So 2024 is the last budgeted year, right? Starting October 1, 2024. And it was set to expire. Well, the Democrats wanted to keep it going. But the problem is, number one, there was no money for it, obviously. This is all borrowed money. We're operating in a deficit every year. So there's no money for it, number one. But legally, it was an emergency measure for an emergency time of COVID. Mm-hmm. Well, that was over. So I'm not really sure. Personally, this is just kind of an opinion thing. So I'm saying what was legally happening. The Democrats were trying to extend something that was legally had run out of its time, was put in place for an emergency budget amendment was put in for it. It was an emergency measure. It had run out, and they were trying to extend it for how long? I don't know. You know what I mean? I guess they were just going to extend it forever, how long they could, which was basically giving people free health care, right? Mm-hmm. So we were getting single-payer health care through insurance companies, which is third-party purchaser. And anyone who's never looked at Bob McEwen's breakdown of third-party purchaser, I'll probably drop a link in the description because we love it. Yeah. He's probably the best describer of what a third-party purchaser system looks like, where the government's spending other people's money, basically, right? And so you get what is it? You get low quality and low value, right? So the product is a low quality product. And you get it for way more than it's worth when you do a third-party purchaser, right?
And fewer options.
Yeah. Lower quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on a first-party purchaser, when it's you buying a thing you want and will use, you look for quality and price. A third-party purchaser does not look for either one of those because they don't care, right? And so that's what we were just seeing. We kind of saw that last night. We were watching a local budgetary process, an emergency measure, like they were having an emergency board meeting, county commissioners board meeting, with the school board, combined emergency called meeting to fund a daycare in our county. They needed an extra $50,000 just to get through to February, right? Mm-hmm. They were asking for that money, and one of the commissioners said, we feel for the children, that this is going to shut down this. And he said, but the main thing that bothers me is that all the thousands of county residents pay their taxes here. Mm-hmm. And that program's only helping 19 county residents. He said, so why are thousands of us paying an extra emergency measure of tens of thousands of dollars for only 19 children in our county to use? And he said, that bothers me.
That's really expensive daycare.
It's very expensive daycare, right? For only 3 months, 3 more months of it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of what was going on with the Democrats. They're like, oh, we need to extend this. We need to extend this, and we're going to hold the line and shut down the government. So I would say this. I would say that was all. This is my take on it. So I gave you the legal parameters. It was an emergency measure from 21. It was set to expire, and they were trying to supposedly get it extended. So this is what I would say. Now comes to crass politics of it, right? On the one hand, they knew there's no way the Republicans are going to renew it. Mm-hmm. Because it was an emergency measure. That emergency's over, and it's a deficit item, and there's no existing legal framework for that money to keep flowing, mm-hmm. right? It had to be an emergency measure, and so they knew when they used it as a ploy, they knew that the Republicans could never approve it, right? It wasn't going to happen. So it gave them a cudgel to beat the Republicans of they're trying to take people's health care away, right? Mm-hmm. So it became a crass political cudgel on the one hand, right? For an off-year election. So it was an October surprise to shut down the government and then accuse the party in power of shutting it down, right? So that became the October surprise that the Democrats used. That was on the one hand. On the other hand, again, crass politics. And this is something I learned years ago. I was so ignorant of this. My dad was a lifelong Democrat. I was raised in a Democrat home. And I always heard this mantra. Democrats are for the little man. Republicans are for business, right? This is all the way back in the 80s during the Reagan Revolution when I was a young Republican. I became a young Republican. I realized all the way back then that that's only partially true. Democrats are the party of Wall Street. Large corporations always fund the Democrats. Mm. It's small business and mid-sized businesses, Chamber of Commerce business, that is the Republican Party's base, right? Mm-hmm. So is the Republican Party the party of business? Yeah, but they're a party of businesses that employ 200 people, right? Not General Motors, mm-hmm. not Wall Street, not bankers, mm-hmm. right? So there's a difference between business and finance. And it turns out, well, hold on, wait a minute, this is important. So it turns out that finance and large international corporations support Democrats. And I knew that all the way back in the 80s. It's true to this day. 75 cents of every dollar donated from Wall Street goes to Democratic politicians. So why am I bringing that up for the shutdown? Because that $400 billion subsidy, well, who was actually going to go to? It wasn't going to go to people. It wasn't going to go to you and I. It was going to go to insurance companies. Well, who did those insurance companies give 90 cents out of every donation dollar? They gave it to Democratic politicians. So the Democrats, was a win-win. We use it as a cudgel. We know that the Republicans are not going to approve it. We use it as a cudgel against the Republicans, saying that they're taking away people's health care. And if we somehow we shame them into renewing it, we supply our donors with $400 billion of subsidies, right? So it was a no-lose for them, and that's what it turned out to be, a no-lose for them, right? They didn't lose anything. So right now, for a day or two, they're going to look like they got egg on their face, that they didn't get anything. No, they got everything they wanted out of it. They shamed the Republicans in an off-year election, right, with an October surprise, and they come out of it looking like that they were fighting for the little man, which they never do. It's a lie, right? They fight for special interests like any Republican, any politician does, Republican or Democrat, right? Mm-hmm. They fight for their donors. That's who they fight for, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Bottom line, yeah. So it was crass politics at its lowest level, for sure, right? Yeah. So what were you seeing? What What was the imagery you were getting in social media and elsewhere?
Mainly about the EBT.
Yeah. Starving the
Not
children.
people not having their SNAP benefits.
Right.
Of course, there were a lot of hyperbole videos. Some of them honestly made that the Republicans didn't want to feed my children.
Right.
Kind of videos.
Yeah.
But a lot of them were just like where to get help.
Yeah.
Because the government was shut down. So some good social media about that.
So let me ask you a question then. So the Democrats had their people. They put that line out, right? The Republicans are trying to take your health care away. The Republicans are trying to starve the children, right? They're pushing little old ladies off the cliff in their wheelchairs. Okay, so every party has its lemming class that then chirps that. They begin to chirp what they've heard, even though it's not true at all. Like there's literally not even a grain of truth in it.
Right.
But their lemming class begins to chirp it. How much are we lemmings in that way? Do we chirp a conservative view, a Christian view, a MAGA view, a libertarian view? Because we're really more libertarian than we are. We live conservatively, probably as conservative as any human beings we know. But I think politically we kind of are libertarian. We're live and let live. Our laws should be limited. Our government should be limited. It should only really involve stopping people from imposing themselves on other people's liberties. For the most part, we think our laws should be moral and just. But I'd say we live conservative and kind of are politically kind of classical liberal or libertarian in a small government way, which I think is conservative. But anyway, so. Are we lemons in that way? Do we chirp stuff that has no real basis in reality, but we just say it anyway?
We might.
Can you think of anywhere that we might do that?
I can't off the top of my head, but we're just as normal as anybody.
Yeah.
So we probably do.
Okay.
We'd have to really think about it. We try not to.
Right.
We try to sift.
Yeah.
And say, no, what's true?
Yeah.
What is really true?
What's true? Yeah.
So Matthew asked me this morning, we were talking about the Civil War and how the South became entirely Democratic.
Yeah.
And that the Southern Democrats were standing up their legislatures again, the legislatures of each Southern state that had seceded, and that the Democrats were underhandedly instituting their white supremacy ideas, getting their legislatures started again. And that it wasn't until, I think, Trump's first election that Gates County was more red than
2016,
blue.
First time in 144 years that it went Republican.
Yeah, so someone came and found you to interview you to say what's going on.
Reuters came to Gates County to interview me.
So Matthew said, I'm glad that Gates County is more Republican now. And I said, I think there's probably more Democrats registered than Republicans.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing, that you don't have to vote how you are registered.
Right.
And the third thing that I really tried to emphasize to him was that I'm trying to admit that my party isn't all holy and perfect.
Right.
That there's...
Well, I ran for office. We got to see the sausage being made, right?
Yeah. So there are good people in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
There are likely very good people also in the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Well, we know some.
That
are godly people.
And that both sides have their faults.
Yeah.
Even while I like my side.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So I think it's a matter of it's an 80-20. Pareto principle applies to everything, right? Like it or not, the 80-20 rule applies everywhere, right? And so I'd say what you're doing is you're looking for a party platform that about 80% represents kind of where you land, right?
Or the people in it.
So
we were talking about one senator in particular. I don't know if I should name him, but he's very excited about war.
Yes.
and is excited about killing the wrong people.
Right.
Killing all the wrong people.
Yeah.
Killing all
Yeah.
the right people, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just don't think anybody, even a non-Christian, even just a human being,
Sure. Well,
should be excited about killing
Yeah.
anyone.
Well, you remember in 2007, you and I have been married 2 years. We had a son, brand new baby boy, and another child on the way. And or I don't know if you were pregnant yet, were you? With Missy, Mandy, but George Bush had started a surge in Iraq, right? The war was going badly, so they did instituted what's called stop loss. They started a surge where they're going to send tens of thousands of more troops there to try to turn that situation around. I was 40 years old, and I was going to be 40 in October that year. They upped the enlistment age to 39 that year because they were so desperate, right? So I was 39 years old. I was going to be out of the range of being able to do that by October. And me and another man from the church, who our birthdays are 1 month apart, we were both 39 years old. We went down to enlist in the National Guard to go to Iraq. And you were asking me, you were like, you're against the war because you think they lied about it, and you think Bush led us in a wrong war. It's crazy. Why are you going? Why would you try to go? And I was like, I said, on the one hand, I know what's true about the war, but on the other hand, I'm a patriot, and I don't think that I can wave the flag and send other people to die without being willing to put my butt on the line again, right? Because I had served years before, and so at 39 years old, I tried to go down and re-enlist to go to Iraq. And they wouldn't take me because I had had a felony conviction by then. I'd gotten caught with some cocaine and had a felony conviction, so they couldn't take me. They wouldn't take me in. But I tried, and I even white lied about the felony, trying to sneak through. And of course, when they ran my fingerprints, the FBI came back that I had a felony, and the recruiter called me and said, "Hey, we can't use you. We'd love to have you, but we can't use you." And so I think there's a place where you can support something, mostly. You believe in it. But you also know there's some underlying lies and some twisting and some stuff there that, like, you should just be honest about, right?
Yeah.
So we should be honest when our party or our group is dishonest.
Yes.
And still support this underlying premise of why we're a part of it.
And I think any accusation of us overlooking some things would be true.
Yeah.
Like we are like anybody else to say, well,
we minimize
the faults on our side.
Maybe we do in public, but at home,
maximize the faults on the other side.
Yeah, well, we maximize the faults on the other side and minimize the faults, but we do that publicly, I think. In other words, you do it defensively. But at home, we call our group out, and we hate some of the things they do. And, you know what I mean? You're pointing out Lindsey Graham, the warmonger. I was pointing him out back then in 07, right? I said back then, and I've said it over and over, when as a newlywed with a brand new baby and another one on the way, and I was willing to go to war as a 40-year-old man, right? And I said that these fools that are sending our soldiers over there, the 18 years old over there, there ought to be some kind of rule where if you vote for war, your children have to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Or we should have an amendment that in order to be elected to the Senate or the House, who's going to vote to go to war, you have to have children.
Or you have to be
willing to
go over there yourself, right?
Yes.
And in bed with a unit,
yes,
in combat.
Yes.
Like you should pee your pants when the bullets start cracking over your head, right? You should have to feel that.
It shouldn't be somebody who's just going to sit in his office and cheer for war,
right?
While other people's sons and daughters are going to actually do the war.
Go die, right? And well, along with that, how about you? Because we started this on the shutdown. How about a Senate and Congress that pay themselves while they shut down and when no one else is getting paid. Right?
And our young Marines
Right.
who barely make anything.
When air traffic controllers are not getting paid. When my nephew, a niece in Florida, who her husband's a park ranger, a federal park ranger, and he can't get paid, right? Yeah, so there's no way that our Congress and Senate should be getting paid.
No.
Right? So I actually think, because we've not had an actual budget since '01, right? Mm-hmm. Since we've been an emergency war power, since the Patriot Act, we've not had an actual annual budget enacted, right? We keep operating under what they call CRs, continuing resolutions. We just resolve and keep continuing to burn money, right? So I think there should be an amendment that they can't get paid, our legislators can't get paid, unless they pass a budget. They just simply can't get paid. They should be last in line. So you see me all the time. We do our meals here at the church, and we feed people to come in, and all the time people will be like, Pastor Eric, can I fix you a plate? Are you going to eat? Are you going to eat, Pastor? Are you going to get there and eat? And I always say, I'll eat last. And all that comes back from being a squad leader, a team leader, fire team leader in the Army, where I didn't eat until my men ate. Simple as that. That was it. And that was so ingrained in me, right, that if they didn't eat, I didn't eat.
Lindsey Graham has been getting
Lindsey
paid.
Graham needs to go. You know what? We need to pass a resolution that he has to go serve in Ukraine since he loves the Ukraine so much.
He loves it.
Yeah, let's send Lindsey Graham to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, look, you go man up, get on the front lines of Ukraine, ride around in a Bradley fighting vehicle with Russian drones around Lindsey, and I'll take back everything I've ever said about you. I'll stop calling you a coward. I'll stop calling you a warmonger. I'll stop calling you evil and a ghoul, and I'll apologize for every bit of it. Yeah.
There you go.
All right, there you go. That's what's
They
up.
do. Honestly, I was surprised to find out how much they are paid. It's not actually a lot.
What, you mean our legislators?
Yeah.
No, it's not a big paycheck.
It's not a big paycheck. So when they get rich while they're there.
Well, exactly. Nancy Pelosi is about to retire with $40 million in the bank, right?
Getting paid on what, 175?
Yeah, 174. Yeah. Yeah,
a
so
year. And having to fly and carry on 2 households and whatever.
Sure.
You can't do that
No.
in California and DC
No. Well,
on that kind of pay.
Supposedly she's rich because her husband got rich. But he got rich on her insider trading information.
Exactly.
Like, it's just fake, right? It's just
exactly.
fake. Anyway, so this is Joe Rogan had Elon on the other day to talk about how Doge went and all like that, and Elon's coming back into the media. It's not he's coming out of hiding after being just lambasted and attacked.
Is Doge done?
Huh?
Are they done?
No.
Okay.
No. He was a special federal employee, so he could only operate for 120 days. That's the way that works, right? Okay. But the Doge is still operating. That organization stood up. He stood up to check to basically audit the federal government. That's what Doge is.
Yeah,
it's an audit of the federal government, right? Anyway, so he was saying to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan asked him what was the biggest thing he learned, right? And he said that that you can't. There's no way to root out the corruption. It's too ingrained. It's got too many layers. And he said, so all we can do is hope to, back to the 80-20 rule here, hope that 80% of what we spend is actually on things the government needs to do and should do, and that the 20% corruption and grift is that we just have to kind of minimize that as much as we can. So the United States uses what's called soft corruption, right? Meaning that we will arrest a congressman that just has bars of gold or bags of cash dropped off at their office, right? We generally will arrest them. We don't allow hard corruption. We do soft corruption, which is the insider trading, right? Which is the leave Congress, become a consultant, serve in, so there's this insider trading, insider baseball, kind of revolving door system that is our soft corruption, right? And so this is why Congress will never pass legislation to stop it, because as Elon found, humans are corrupt, and there's always going to be a measure of corruption. So it's kind of like if you don't allow the safety valve of soft corruption, they're going to end up they'll just do hard corruption like foreign governments do, right? And so I don't know that I agree with that or believe that, but that's kind of what they've come to. And so Congress is never going to pass legislation that limits themselves, right? Because they all agree that we should get a little bit of this piece of the pie while we're up here.
So what's the recourse for the American taxpayer?
To keep trying to elect the most honest people you can. You should not elect, I don't know any way around this, right? So, yeah, so I don't know how we can, because the most corrupt people up there, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Lindsey Graham's, the Chuck Schumer's, the what's the other the just retired the Republican that like was there forever and ever and ever. But anyway, I'll call his name in a minute. So these people, the most corrupt people that have built the biggest kind of machine, political machine, like it's like all you got to do is go. Like if you want a historical analogy of what how our government's corrupt, go look at Tammany Hall, right? The story of Tammany Hall in New York politics, right? It's kind of displayed a little bit in the gangs of New York, right? There's a little, it's a little take on that, but it's called machine politics, right? Where you just have this revolving door of the same people, and they build this machine that's impenetrable, right? And so the most corrupt people are the hardest ones to unelect. You can't get them out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that's what's up.
That's what's up.
That's what's up. Yeah, that humanity is sinful and fallen according to the Christian doctrine of original sin. And we are corrupt in our nature. In our very nature, we're corrupt. We need Jesus Christ. We need the Holy Spirit to not only first convict us of that truth, reveal that truth to us, right? You have to have this. You have to have an epiphany, an awakening that goes, oh, I'm the problem, not someone else, not the white man, the black man, not the women, not this person, not the government, not my mom and my dad, not the neighborhood I grew up in, not the job I have. I am the issue with me. I'm my own worst enemy. The corruption lies within my own heart, and I need something bigger and greater and more powerful than me to set me free from myself. That is the revelation of Jesus Christ. That is the revelation of the Christian doctrine. And that is the only thing that changes anything, is when the human heart changes. All right. Thank you for being here with us today. God bless you. We'll catch you next time on Straight to the Heart with Eric Gearhart. Like, subscribe, comment, do something. Start some trouble. Whatever. We love you. We'll see you next time.